Yeah. Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah. Please tell me all the bad, never good, fill my head full of every single doubt, yeah. Please say any negative thoughts, I pop off when I hear people say I cannot. I get off to the thought of proving everyone wrong, I won't stop to the top, so you better back off and get lost. I'ma stay loud, stay proud, never running out, never heading south. I'll be spreading out, call it word of mouth, can't put me down, I'll be getting loud. You can have your doubts, not what I'm about, have your fucking cloud, it be raining now, I keep making sound, go another round, bitch I'm legend bound, can't stop me now. You don't wanna fuck with me, a slow burn like a disease.
What is going on, everyone? And in this video I'll be giving you my UFC Paris Gane versus Tuivasa main card predictions for the upcoming event taking place this Saturday. It's gonna be an early time for at least everyone on the East Coast, so looking forward to that. I think it's a pretty solid main event, great co-main event for a fight. Now I will say that Alessio Chirico taking on Roman Kopylov, that'll be a decent fight. Makdessi versus Nasrat, Haqparast. William Gomis getting a little bit of that regional scene, taking on Jarno, Errens, and then Jourdain taking on Nathaniel. I think it's a pretty decent main card. Obviously the first card that's going to be in Paris, so looking forward to it, looking forward to the time as well. And like I said, man, I think it's some pretty decent fights, so we'll have to see how it plays out. But like always, let's go ahead and jump right into it. In the first fight on the main card, we have Jourdain, 13-5-1. He'll be taking on Nathaniel Wood, 18-5. Now for Jourdain, man, he's a pretty brutal guy. Like, he's definitely down to fight, right? He's always going to get in your face. He's always willing to, like, no matter what, he's not really going to get too tired. And even towards the end, right, he's trying to kill you. He's trying to take your head off. And we saw in his last fight against Shane Burgos, he outstruck Shane Burgos pretty much, 113 strikes to Shane Burgos' 42. Now, be it Burgos was able to get more takedowns, and then you could also argue that maybe he landed the better shots, and that's probably why he won the majority decision. But either way, I mean, a majority decision. It is not a unanimous decision. In that fight, I don't think Jourdain looked bad. The one thing about Jourdain, in my opinion, is against better grapplers, right? He's really going to get out-grappled. And even if you're not really able to do anything, you're still taking him down or whatnot. He doesn't really... he does have submission skills. We saw it against Lando Venata, but it's not like he's slamming people on the floor, getting that. He's not really going to be the one engaging for it. He'll jump on you to get a submission, but only if you leave him that spot open for him to do that. His striking is obviously, he has a good high kick, willing to trade in close, solid chin. He's a dog fighter. He's not gonna put the pace. He's not gonna slow down the pace, right? He's gonna try to outpace you and get in there. He has pretty decent shots in the clinch as well, some good elbows, some good punches. But like I said, he can be out grappled against a better wrestler. Nathaniel Wood, he's a pretty decent fighter as well. Kind of a lot of hype behind him when he came in here, but then obviously he lost to John Dodson, got knocked out by him. Won his next fight, lost his next fight, and then his most recent fight, he beat Charles Rosa via unanimous decision, in a fight where he just outstruck Charles Rosa. And then he did get taken down twice. At least credited Rosa with 2 takedowns, and then he was able to get 1 takedown of his own. But I would say overall his striking was just a lot better, right? He was landing the better shots. It was glaringly obvious. And that's one thing I would say about Wood right now, is it seems like he's trying to really showcase his striking, really show that he's gotten a lot better on the feet, and that, yeah, the wrestling is there, but he's not, he's not a guy diving in for takedowns. He definitely has no problem keeping the fight standing. Pretty good kicks. He loads up on his shots, big hooks, pretty good uppercuts. When I say load up on his shots, it's not in a way too that makes me feel like it's sloppy. I do think he can definitely get countered off them, but it's not like heavyweight bombs or anything like that, and then he's gassed out. His grappling, he might look for the grappling here in this fight, in my opinion. Although, yeah, he obviously has to be careful with the submissions, at least the defensive submissions over Jourdain. And Nathaniel Wood is another guy who he's going to try to advance position. He's definitely going to look for the submissions, right? So he's not going to just take you down, sit on you, fall asleep. For Jourdain, overall gritty fighter with a willingness to drown his opponent out through the whole entire fight, right? He's not going to give up. He's not going to play to point fighting, right? He's going to definitely try to play to the crowd. I do worry though, because Jourdain can struggle against better grapplers. He is very tough though. And he did land more shots against Shane Burgos in his last fight. So outside of being grappled and kind of just not having, I guess, maybe the heavier shots and being the aggressor in that fight, he did outland him. And, he didn't look too bad. He gave him one hell of a fight. For Nathaniel Wood, he's definitely an aggressive fighter on his feet. Like, he's not backing up against the fence or anything like that. He's not trying to counter you. He's gonna go forward. He's gonna try to pressure, use that aggression. His stand up, I would say, is pretty much improved in my opinion. And then we'll have to see how the wrestling goes, if Wood's taking him down or not, or especially if it gets, because that could get a little annoying, right, for Jourdain. Even if Jourdain's like complaining, like, oh, you're just taking me down or whatever, but you're still getting taken down. And so for me, Wood needs to early on get that respect for the striking against Jourdain, right? He's gonna have to show him that, like, look, I can trade with you, and I think that comes with just being more aggressive. And let's see what he's learned with his striking. I would say his striking is pretty good. You know, he definitely has some power in there too. So. But if Wood gets a little bit too careless and he gets a little bit too tired, maybe he keeps trying to go for too many takedowns, right? Or maybe in the clinch he's just not finding success. Then I could definitely see Jourdain pulling off a decision here, or even maybe a defensive submission. But overall, in my opinion, maybe it's going to be, you know, hindsight will probably be a bad decision. But I'm going to go with Nathaniel Wood. I think he's going to be able to showcase his improved striking, at the same time have that ability to possibly go for a takedown, or at least defend the takedown. And, you know, put the pressure on, man, and get in his face and meet Jourdain in there and give him one hell of a fight. So either way, I think it's going to be one hell of a fight. And I think it's a pretty decent matchup here. So I'm going to go Nathaniel Wood on this one. Arguably enough, I don't think he's the favorite. I'm going to go with Nathaniel Wood to defeat Charles Jourdain, and I'll take him to win by a decision. In the second fight on the main card, we have William Gomis taking on Jarno Errens in a featherweight bout, 10-2 for Gomis, and then 13-3-1 for Errens. And this is going to be obviously a more of a local to the crowd for the people that keep an eye on the local fighters, at least in Europe. So yeah, these two guys obviously don't even have their picture up here, but they're both, I believe, coming off of I think they're both coming off of wins. So for Gomis, his stand-up, he has a lot of kicks, a lot of check hooks. His volume is lower, right? I don't think he's necessarily like trying to out-volume people. He's not necessarily like one of these guys who's just like lighting you up with combinations. He's picking his shots. I think his grappling is where he excels. Pretty decent grappling, weighs on his opponent in the clinch, and then he'll go for the ground and pound. Although I think it was his last fight, wasn't too impressed with his last fight. I felt it looked a little bit weird. I think he won. The referee stopped it via ground and pound, but to me it wasn't like, oh no, that's like the craziest ground and pound I've seen. So you know, I don't know. I don't know what that means necessarily for Gomis' ability to get the finish on the floor. But regardless, he was able to do it. Yeah, I think it was against Jose Marcos in Edis FC 7. And that was back in June 25th, 2022. So not too long ago. So he's total 10-2. So he's lost. So he's definitely he knows what it's like to lose. He's not undefeated. And then for Jarno Errens, he's coming into this fight. I would say both of these fighters are pretty lengthy dudes as well. He's coming over a win over Alessio Abdullayev via unanimous decision. That was Brave CF. And then before that, he lost a unanimous decision. Got some finishes in there, so he's definitely lost. So both guys have lost. They've tasted the feeling of defeat before, so that's always good. So you don't have one guy just coming in here thinking he's going to run through people. For Errens, constant circling. You know, he's always circling around the cage, which I think is going to be a good thing here. So he's not have his back up against the fence, and then he's more susceptible to be getting taken down. He's pretty patient, just like Gomis, in my opinion. Fights on his back foot a little bit. His chin does seem a little bit high, so if they were getting some wild exchanges, I'm not sure if that's a necessarily good thing. His combinations are pretty good. His grappling, so for Errens, he definitely can be taken down, and I think obviously that's kind of the biggest thing here is, like, is he going to be taken down by Gomis, and is he going to be able to get controlled? Obviously, I don't think he can let that happen here. He's going to have to light Gomis up on the feet and getting him to dive in for the takedowns, and then we're going to be able to see. So yeah, I think it's another, you know, both guys can keep the fight standing. Both guys are pretty long, but obviously I think Gomis is going to have the advantage with the grappling here, and if he can implement it without getting like piece up on the feet or anything like that, or where he's just shooting in takedowns very lazily, I think he can win this fight. So I'm going to go William Gomis to defeat Jarno Errens. I'll take a win by a decision. In the third fight on the main card, we have John Makdessi taking on Nasrat Haqparast. 18-7 for Makdessi, 13-5 for Nasrat Haqparast. Lightweight bout. This is going to be an interesting fight because I don't know what we're going to get from Makdessi. We've seen him get the victories. In his last fight, he was able to get a split decision, which I believe he was an underdog in. Before that, he lost to Ronaldo via unanimous decision. And then before that, he was coming off 3 wins. But again, against guys that were kind of on their way out. Obviously, Ross Pearson. Every time he's kind of fought a guy in the top 5 or whatever, he was not able to get the victory. So he's kind of just been hanging out there. But he's definitely one hell of a fighter. He's going to stay in there. He's going to bring the fight. I think after he lost to Cerrone, he was like questioning whether he should retire. So that's, he felt the need to come back and change things around and see what he can do here. So for Haqparast, on the other hand, though, he is also another one of these guys where I think when he fights when he fights the top level guys, he doesn't do so well. So obviously coming off that loss against Bobby Green, just got absolutely crushed. 188 significant strikes landed by Bobby Green as opposed to his 76. Lost to Dan Hooker, who also has been struggling a little bit. So take that for what it's worth. Regardless though, both of those fights were lost via unanimous decision. So it's not like he's getting crushed, but he's just getting outworked. Like, he's not the better guy in those fights, but at the same time, at least he's not getting nuked or anything like that. Before that, he defeated Rafa Garcia via unanimous decision. Alexander Munoz via unanimous decision, and then he loses to Drew Dober via KO/TKO in round number 1. So again, another one of these guys where less fights inside of the UFC, but at the same time, when he fights the better guys, he's just not winning them. Not getting absolutely crushed outside of Drew Dober, but he's just not able to get those victories and mount a significant win streak against guys that you could say matter in the division. So what I got to say about Nasrat Haqparast, good jab. I think he's probably going to be the more technical striker in this fight. He blitzes out, right? So he'll kind of be sitting back and then pop, pop, pop. He'll come in forward with the combinations, and it's like mini blitzes. His volume can be a little bit low, so that's a little, he's not necessarily being the aggressor sometimes. Maybe he's just sitting back a little bit too much. Pretty good head kicks. He's very, like I said, a very technical fighter. His striking is not going to be like a brawly style. Grappling, he can definitely be taken down by better grapplers, and I'm not saying that Makdessi is going to be diving in for takedowns, because I don't think he ever has. So you never know, I guess, but I'm not really looking at this fight like it's going to go to the floor. Haqparast lost via Dan Hooker, got taken down 3 times. Munoz took him down once. Marcin held his very first fight inside of UFC. He lost, and he got taken down 3 times. So I don't really think either guy's going to necessarily be diving in for takedowns here. You never know, I guess. You could, who knows, right? But regardless, I don't really think it's going to be a grappling kind of affair here. So overall, Haqparast is a really good technical fighter. His lower volume is a little bit, sketchy sometimes, but he's a very smart fighter. He'll pick his shots. He was getting jabbed to death by Bobby Green, but that was just that was just 2 different levels of striking. I would say in this fight, he needs to take advantage of Makdessi, maybe getting a little bit too wild, because Makdessi can definitely be hit, right? We kind of know that. Makdessi likes to stay in close. He definitely loves to close the distance as well. He's willing to eat shots to give shots, so you have to be a little bit wary of his aggression, and then his also willingness to kind of just eat some shots so he can start landing bombs on you. Pretty good leg kicks as well. I don't really think Makdessi is going to be a takedown threat, so like I said, I think the fight stays standing. So you kind of have one guy who's going to be the aggressor, and the other guy who's probably going to try to be technical, counter him, stuff like that. So I think if Haqparast can stay pretty, don't get into the brawl, don't welcome it, right? Clean up his striking a little bit, take advantage of Makdessi when he gets in too close, when he's getting a little bit reckless. Don't fold because of the aggression, and then maybe even get in a little bit of a clinch so you can tie him up a little bit, and then I think you can just pop shot him and kind of piece him up over time. That being said, if Haqparast is not really doing too much and his volume's low, so maybe he lands a couple, he does land some shots, but then you have Makdessi being the aggressor, controlling the octagon, getting in his face, then maybe Makdessi will be able to pull off another split decision or something like that. So we'll have to see there. But yeah, I think Haqparast, unless he just looks shot or something, I feel like he can just take advantage of the over aggression of Makdessi. And then what is he gonna win by? I think he's got to put Makdessi away here. One of these guys got to, either way, somebody's got to get a finish. We can't be doing unanimous decision, right? We can't be doing that all the time. One of these, a split decision, unanimous decision. We got to be, one of these guys, if they want to stay relevant in this division and get a chance to fight another top level guy, has to be doing something here. So I'm gonna go Nasrat Haqparast. I know this dude's not knocked people out, but maybe he finally does. So I'm gonna go Nasrat Haqparast to defeat John Makdessi. So I'm gonna win by KO TKO in round number 2. In the 4th fight on the main card, we have Alessio Chirico taking on Roman Kopylov in a middleweight bout. 13-6 for Chirico, and then 8-2 for Kopylov. So this is gonna be an interesting fight. I think at least on paper, Chirico is going to be the better fighter. Kopylov is not going to be the better fighter. That being said, I think a lot of people have recent memory of Chirico getting absolutely destroyed by Abdul Razak Al Hassan via that head kick that sent him into another dimension. And then before that, he defeated Joaquin Buckley via his own head kick. And then he had 3 fights in a row where he lost via unanimous decision. So I think a lot of people are looking at Chirico and be like, you know, this guy is probably shot a little bit. He's not necessarily the best, and that's why it's a pretty even matchup. I think both are pretty, like, it's like a 50-50 right here. For Roman Kopylov, though, I will say he's only had 2 fights inside the UFC, right? So he had no losses going into the UFC, and then he gets his 2 losses inside the UFC. The first fight, I think he just got pretty much out grappled, obviously, by Carl Robinson. Just wasn't able to handle with the rear naked choke right there. In his second fight against Albert Duraev, he lost that fight via unanimous decision. He really got beat up in that fight too, right? He I think he did get 1 knockdown, but overall, I think he pretty much, he hung in that fight, but at the same time, it was more, in my opinion, of Duraev just kind of slowing down, and then that was when Kopylov was able to get, but he was getting pieced up too, right? So, not the most impressive fights in the world. Obviously, Chirico is been in the UFC a lot longer than he has. He has fought top level guys. I think his win over Julian Marquez via split decision on the Ultimate Fighter, that was pretty decent, right? Split decision, whatever. Losing to Kevin Holland via unanimous decision, just kind of getting out. He's not really a guy that's known for his striking. Very low volume. Probably would prefer to get the takedown. Even against Zach Cummings, he basically got knocked out in the last second of the 3rd round, right? Zach Cummings just a lot tougher, just a lot more strikes landed on him. So for me, I think Chirico, if he wants to win this fight, I think he needs to go back to his roots, man. I think he needs to get in those takedowns. I think he needs to take down. He needs to take down just like he took down Julian Marquez 4 times. He needs to get him on the floor. He needs to go back to his ways, getting into that clinch, tying him up, drowning him out, getting Kopylov to kind of just slow down. I will say this, Kopylov does have a pretty good left straight. He does have clean strikes, pretty good speed, but if you can get this dude tired, all that kind of goes away. So I keep saying, man, I think Chirico, stop trying to prove that you have stand up or something. Just get into that clinch, work on him, go for the leg kicks, just slow Kopylov down and then drown him out and try to pull off something, or at least get a decision, because I think if Chirico doesn't win this fight, maybe he gets booted, because then he'll have 5 losses in his past 6-7 fights or whatever. So yeah, he's got to win this fight. And then for Kopylov, the same thing, man. This dude's coming off 2 losses inside the UFC. Granted, it was against pretty decent guys, obviously, pretty tough guys, but still, man, I think if Kopylov wants to win this fight, he probably keeps it standing and just tries to knock out Chirico. But I'm not sure what else he can do if he doesn't find success. If he doesn't find too much success on the feet and then he's getting taken down, I just think Chirico kind of works him on the floor. Maybe even tries to go for a submission or something. Maybe tries to pull something off, or just kind of grinds him out. It might not be the most entertaining thing ever, especially if it's a low volume fight, right? So we'll have to see what happens here. But I'm gonna go. And Chirico does have a pretty good high kick too. I just think he's gonna try to work in his grappling and try to drown him out. So I'm gonna go Alessio Chirico to defeat Roman Kopylov. I'll take it a win by decision. And then we move on into the co-main event of the evening. We have Robert Whittaker taking on Marvin Vettori in a middleweight bout. 24-6 for Whittaker, 18-5-1 for Marvin Vettori. So this will be a pretty interesting bout. It's almost like we keep seeing the similar faces, right? We've got people fighting Israel Adesanya, and then they go off and fight each other, and then they keep doing the same concept over and over again. because no one's really beating Israel Adesanya. No one's really giving him that test. So you have the same guys just end up fighting each other, and then it's kind of like, okay, who cares, right? But regardless, I think Whittaker said he wants to fight at 205 or something, so I don't even know where this dude's headspace is at. Actually, is this fight at 205 or something like that? I'm not too sure. It says 205, but we'll have to see, right? I'm not too sure. If it is at middleweight, then I mean that's cool. But for Whittaker, he's coming off a loss against Israel Adesanya, and then outside of Israel Adesanya, he didn't lose to anyone else named Israel Adesanya, except February 22nd, 2014, where he got knocked out by Stephen Thompson. So he went on a winning streak, and then he lost to the champ. You know, he gets the belt, and then he loses. I mean, I think it's just, in my opinion, like, Israel Adesanya is just going to be a big problem for people. Because even if you look at Whittaker, right, he got 4 takedowns in that fight, but he still lost the fight. Still got dropped by Adesanya as well. Got outstruck by Adesanya. So I just think Adesanya just, his stand-up is just on another level in comparison to a lot of these guys. But my thing here is I still think Whittaker is a pretty tough guy. He sets up that high kick very well. It's like very deceiving, right? You think, oh shit, and then you're getting caught with a high kick. Great jab, great pace, great counters, good cardio. I think overall Whittaker is probably going to be the better striker. Now Vettori is just like a tank though, right? So he's very tough. He's not a guy who's going to get knocked out in my opinion. He's either going to beat you via unanimous decision, in the off chance get a submission like he did against Carl Robertson, or he's just losing via decision, right? So, and then, I mean, that's pretty much it. Like, he's not necessarily like beating you up and like, oh shit, it's crazy. Like, I don't think it's that. It's just that he has such a great chin. He has pretty good aggression, heavy shots, stays in there. I mean, just is like a stone following you around the octagon, right? It's like you hit this guy, pop, 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 but it's not really doing anything too much. But you're winning the fight, right? You're beating him up, but he's still not gonna go anywhere, and so he just walks you down or whatever. In his last fight against Paulo Costa, I mean, Costa gassed pretty hard in that one towards the end. It was competitive, I guess. Both fighters got like a takedown. Against Adesanya, he got 4 takedowns, but again, on the feet, he was just getting beat up on the feet. And you know, sometimes he's a little bit too like when I don't think Whittaker's gonna get taken down, held down for like, you know, a whole round or something. I think Whittaker would be able to pop back up. Whittaker has pretty solid takedown defense. So yeah, I don't really see like Vettori like out striking Whittaker and doing anything crazy like that. Now, in the off chance that Vettori is able to just like pop, like land some big heavy shot on him, maybe he knocks him out, I guess. But I just think like with what Whittaker's capable of doing, like he's fought the champ twice. Vettori's fought the champ twice as well. And now granted, Vettori didn't get like finished by Adesanya, but I think it's more so just because like Whittaker doesn't rely on the grappling as much as Vettori does. You know, Vettori's tough, man. So like him getting 4 takedowns on the champ, I could see it. I mean, that's pretty much his game plan. That's his whole thing. And so yeah, for me, Whittaker's just gonna have the better striking. I don't think anyone gets finished here because I really do think Vettori's pretty tough. And like I said, I don't really see Vettori like knocking Whittaker out. I guess he can if he lands something. He lands a big hook in there, and then Whittaker's done, and we're just like, oh shit, this guy looks like trash. That could be a thing. Maybe Whittaker's thinking about something else, right? He wants to go to another division and doesn't even, you know, maybe his motivation isn't there. We don't know. But I just don't think Whittaker at his very best is going to be able to get like absolutely crushed by Vettori. Because if Vettori can't like get you on the floor and just hold you there, yeah, I mean, he can land some good strikes on the feet, but I mean, I just think Whittaker's just a better striker on the feet. Like, that's all it comes down to. He's just setting up a lot more, mixing a lot more into his arsenal, and his cardio, I think, is going to hold up too. Unless he's forced to grapple, I guess, maybe. So, we'll have to see. But yeah, I don't really want to go with Vettori yet unless, like, I just don't feel like I've seen anything from Vettori that's like, oh my god, he's going to crush Robert Whittaker. Like, I just don't see that at all. So, I'm going to go Robert Whittaker. I'm not going to count him out too much. This might be another fight too that's not necessarily the best, just because of the, you know, you have Whittaker who, I mean, we saw Whittaker in his fight against like Romero, for example, where he lost a split decision. not the greatest fight, right? And then Romero gets to I don't know. Maybe Vettori does out grapple him. I guess. I mean, I guess it could happen, but I just don't think so. I just Whittaker's a tough bastard, man. So like both guys are tough. So I'm gonna go Robert Whittaker though. Outside of the grappling, I think he pops back up, lights him up on the feet, kind of outpaces him, just lands the better combinations, controls that side of the game, right? Whereas Vettori, yeah, he might try to land a big shot here or there, but his punches aren't necessarily like the most effective or whatever. So I'm gonna go Robert Whittaker. Like I said, both guys tough. Don't see a finish. So I'll go Robert Whittaker to defeat Marvin Vettori. I'll take a win by decision. In the main event of the evening, we have Ciryl Gane taking on Tai Tuivasa. Heavyweight bout, 10-1 for Gane, 15-3 for Tuivasa. And this on paper is one of those fights where you're like, okay, I got it, right? I'm going to go Ciryl Gane. I think he's going to do absolutely a little bit of nothing and then kind of just outpoint Tuivasa. Maybe on the low chance, just like Derek Lewis, Tuivasa gets that KO. Probably not, and then call it a day, right? But I think you have to look into it a little bit more. And when you start looking into it a little bit more, you look at Gane. When he fought Francis Ngannou, he was outstriking Francis Ngannou, even though he lost the fight. So he had 63 significant strikes against Ngannou's 43. I'm not sure if there was something wrong with Gane that night, or maybe he just wasn't expecting Francis to dive in for a takedown or slam him that badly. I'm not really sure. But regardless, on the feet, Gane was just landing the better shots, I would say. And he had really good protection too. When Francis was landing some big bombs, he was able to protect himself. So I don't think Gane is going to get knocked out. That being said, any clean strike on your face or an elbow is going to put you to sleep. It doesn't matter who you are, especially when you're fighting a dude like Tai Tuivasa. I mean, Derek Lewis could have KO'd Tai Tuivasa. Yeah, if he just landed a bigger shot or something, right? So I'm not really worried about that. But I do think that as far as a game plan is concerned, we know, just like Tuivasa and his, his brother-in-law in last week's fight, or was it last week's fight, or maybe it was the fight before that? But either way, just like his brother-in-law, heavy leg kicks. Not a guy you want to be trading leg kicks with. And that could be something here, just because, is Gane going to be able to take those leg kicks for too long? Will it take away his movement? Like, what are we going to see from him? So just like Tyson Pedro, yeah. So just like his brother-in-law, Tyson Pedro, both dudes, heavy leg kicks, these Samoan dudes. And so Gane might not be able to take too many of these leg kicks, just like we've seen from like his brother-in-law and a lot of these Samoans who are like, tree trunk legs, and they're just slamming kicks into you. Like, it's not something that you want to be dealing with for too long before you're like, it's going to take away your movement, right? I mean, if Derek Lewis kicks you, it's going to take away your movement. But if Gane's able to stay out of that, right? So let's say that doesn't even happen. Let's say he's not, he's bouncing around enough to where you can't really land those kind of strikes on him. So Gane's just going to pick at him, piece him up, land a good jab, go after the body, right? I don't see Gane getting into any of these wild exchanges. If anything, I just see Tai Tuivasa getting a little bit, the crowd might be trying to get him to knock him out, right? Or the crowd's on Gane's side, but maybe it's not the most exciting thing, and that's when Tuivasa tries to go for it. But I think Gane can counter him and punch him. I just really do. And I also think, although early on I think Tai Tuivasa isn't going to be getting taken down at will or anything, I think if Gane can kind of outpace him, go after his body, land shots here and there, tire him out just a little bit, I think maybe in the latter of the fight, he could probably go for a takedown and get a submission. Maybe we'll have to see how that plays out, because Tai Tuivasa has lost via submission before. We saw it against Sergey Spivak. So we it's hard to say like what exactly Gane is going to be doing here, but it can't be to stand and trade with him the entire fight. Like, I just don't think that's it, because if Tuivasa is going to win, it's going to be by knockout on the feet, right? So you got to take it somewhere else. You got to engage in that clinch with Tai Tuivasa so you can kind of wear on him a little bit and go from there. But I mean, he just fought Ngannou, right? And Ngannou is like a savage, and he took him to unanimous decision. Didn't really get outstruck by him. Did get taken down, which was the biggest thing. But it's not like it's not like Gane got his ass beat, right? He put away Derek Lewis. He beat up Alexander Volkov, Jairzinho Rozenstruik, Junior Dos Santos, Tanner Bozer, Dontel Mays, and then Rafael Pessoa. So yeah, I mean, I think overall Ciryl Gane is going to be a problem, and it might frustrate Tai Tuivasa, but that's when I think he starts finding success, is when Tai Tuivasa starts just trying to go for some crazy shit, and then when he does, he's getting countered big, and then maybe we see Gane going for a takedown. But at the same time, he can get clipped, he can put to sleep, and then nothing I say will matter. And then we have Tai Tuivasa just absolutely destroying him, and I don't know, being like the only guy to put him to sleep. So we'll have to see what happens here, but I just like Ciryl Gane. I think he might even try to get, if he can get those takedowns like in the third round, and Tai Tuivasa is like a little frustrated, a little tired, right? Maybe Gane goes for a submission. Maybe he tries to work that submission game on the floor, and maybe he tries to land some big strikes too as well, ground and pound, and mixes it in. So like I said, we'll have to see what happens here, but I'm very aware that Tai Tuivasa could just absolutely shut this down in like a matter of like a minute or something. But it's just hard for me to count out Ciryl Gane. He's not a bad fighter. He's actually one of, if not the most light looking, like as far as like his stance and all that. Like he is like fighting like a featherweight or something, like technical heavyweights that we've got in the heavyweight division inside of the UFC. So I'm gonna go Ciryl Gane on this one. I think it's gonna be very interesting to see how this plays out. Let's see if Ciryl Gane wins big. I think he goes, maybe he gets a rematch against Ngannou. And then obviously if Tai Tuivasa wins, he's definitely going to get a match against Ngannou. So this is probably the number one contender fight, depending on how each guy looks. And so I'm going to go Ciryl Gane on this one. I think it's going to be in that third round. He goes in for that takedown, and then he finds a success there. And then next thing you know, he's just submitting Tai Tuivasa. So I'm going to go Ciryl Gane to defeat Tai Tuivasa. I'm taking a win by submission in round number 3. So that'll do it, guys, for my UFC Paris main card predictions for the upcoming event taking place September 3rd, 2022. Leave your comments down below. Tell me who you're picking. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. And you know what? I'll see you guys in the next video.